From the top rope to your collection, this collecting the 1, 2, 3 presented by Cardboard Dugout. I am your host, Moon 3PO, and this is my tag team partner, BroPo. BroPo finally back in the mix. If you guys have been tuning into Cardboard Dugout and or the last episode collecting the 1, 2, 3, where I myself gave my predictions for WrestleMania 41 and talked some Cactus Jack and some patches, you guys would know that BroPo has been out of the mix for a little bit. He's busy being a now father of two, but he is able to step away for a little bit and get in his our post reaction to WrestleMania 41. So this was the episode's going to be all about talking all things WrestleMania, all things patches, talking all things Cactus Jack. But before we do all that, BroPo, how you been? Obviously, I see you in person, but for the good old listeners, how you been?
Oh, I'm good. Shout out to the wifey who is taking over some baby duty right now while I can step away and do this. So I may be like the Rock and do a one-off appearance and may never come back again. So
Do a showpiece, do a little emote there, and just fucking just dip.
yeah, I'm gonna make some storylines and then just dip and just be forgotten about.
Good old fashioned Rock fashion. But yeah, we obviously here wanted to get in our WrestleMania 41 post reactions before we are recording this on Monday afternoon. Usually we record typically in the nighttime. But yeah, I wanted to get this episode in before the episode of the post WrestleMania Raw episode. So depending on how fast we're able to edit, maybe get this out post WrestleMania or pre Raw, or obviously listen to this on a Tuesday. But nevertheless, let's get into it. Let's talk all WrestleMania. We're going to combine both night one and night two, an event as a whole. There's obviously a lot of matches, a lot of things to discuss here. And obviously, we'll talk about the WrestleMania patches and what we overall think about that. I know I gave my opinion on the pod last night, but obviously, or last time out. I know obviously you haven't been here, so we'll obviously get your live reactions here. But before we discuss any matches, any things that we saw, things we liked, things we didn't like, let's just talk about this whole WrestleMania as a whole, because there's been a lot of chatter about it online. It was mid, it was kind of a dudder. What is your overall thoughts on how this WrestleMania played out? Not just from result wise, but from the matches, things. I guess we could say result wise too, but from an overall quality standpoint, how would you rate this WrestleMania?
I think if I had to get it like a letter grade, I'd probably go like a B minus.
B minus.
Yeah, just because I don't know. Like I obviously when I wasn't on the pod to discuss a lot of the things, but like even like build up to Mania, like there was times where it still didn't feel like it was like WrestleMania season. But I think it's also kind of unfair because I think we're trying to compare it to last year. And last year we had the whole thing with The Rock and Cody and Roman, all that going on. And so I think I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I had a hard time with like all the Cena stuff. Like he was filming his movie, so he was overseas, like cutting all his promos. So like Raw in our area was on like at 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So it just felt weird. Like it felt like there was a lot of like hits and it wasn't connecting. And then he disappears again, and then he shows up on the last, the last SmackDown before WrestleMania. So I don't know. Like I feel like they had a lot of holes in that too. But yeah, again, I'm just the build. Just I don't know. It just felt weird. It oddly didn't kind of feel like WrestleMania season, but then there was times that it did, if that makes sense. And then just from like a production standpoint, like I don't know, I feel like there wasn't that many like big like glorified entrances that I think we were used to. Like they just looked like random, like Drew, like for example, like Drew McIntyre had that random like metal looking statue, and I don't know, I was like, what the heck is that? Like I thought maybe like fire was gonna pop out of it. Like it was just there. LA Knight came out like in just a car. Like I don't know, it felt weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say we're kind of on the same idea there. I'm more about like a B plus, B minus. You can make the case for either or. I think obviously you nailed it there. I think we make a lot of comparison to WrestleMania 40, which I think can honestly go down as probably one of the best WrestleManias of all time, top 5 for sure. Which is very tough to live up to that. But yeah, I would agree 100%. It's some of the stuff build up wise. Obviously, when John Cena was cutting all those promos, we obviously weren't recording. We were just busy doing other things. Obviously, you were busy. I was busy. Jim Bro was busy. So we didn't even get like those live reactions to discuss those promos. Even though there were great promos, but there was this lack of build with Cody. They didn't really get physical until the last 2 weeks, and even with that, it was the same thing over and over, where Cody hits him with the crossroads, and then from there dips. The Jey Uso and Gunther kind of did the build up was kind of until like the last 2 weeks or so, when unfortunately it took Jey being tied down to a rope and Jimmy bleeding and Gunther beating the shit out of him. And so it took that to get that built up. Obviously, we had the Charlotte Flair and Tiffany, that awkward promo. The triple threat, I think, was probably was a pretty good build between Io, Bianca, and Rhea. So that was a pretty good build up. But everything else, kind of, like, I would agree 100%, kind of felt a little bit flat. And I think, while there were still some good matches overall, I think overall, as a Jim Bro kind of hit it on there when we kind of talked about it. I think it was a Chamber. I'm not sure when we talked about it, where it didn't really feel like a WrestleMania build-up until the heel turn for Cena. But even after that, I think it kind of felt a little bit flat. Not the heel turn essentially in the promos, but I think overall event in general kind of felt a little bit flat and didn't feel like a true WrestleMania like we've seen with 40, and even I think some other previous WrestleManias are have had a better build-up and bigger hype all around it. But let's discuss the matches, because obviously we discussed here just overall as a whole. But obviously we're not gonna discuss every match, because again, like we just talked about, there were some matches here that were some dudders, some that were good, some of them are just kind of just were that just I feel like not really much to talk about. But let's first start off with night one. Obviously, we'll start off with night one. We'll start off with the opening match with Jey Uso and Gunther, with Jey Uso becoming the World Heavyweight Champion. That's the inscription on the Tops Now card. And of course, if you guys have been holders of Jey Uso base cards or any other numbered card from Topps Chrome, you can now officially turn that into store credit at your local hobby store. I believe I saw a post that it's all the way up to July, so you do have some time to go and get some base cards here, hopefully at a decent price. It doesn't make any sense if you're paying $25 for a base card and you're getting it for $20. So don't do that. So you want to make sure that you find a good deal, or especially if you're buying in bulk. But let's start off with that big match there. What do we think about that match? Obviously, I think that match was pretty predictable as far as of a winner. But overall, what do we think about this match as a whole?
Yeah, I was on Team Yeet, so I was pulling for Jay to win on this one. The finish was kind of, I liked the match, but the finish was kind of wonky. Like, I thought it was kind of weird to have Gunther tap out like that. Like, I would have rather him just like, I thought he would probably was gonna hit like the splash from like all four corners and then just pin him to kind of make it seem like, like he needed all four of those to put him down. But like to hit three of them and then just put him in the, I don't even know what it's called. I don't know, it's like a sleeper hold or something. But I mean, Gunther's finishing move, like to have that and then have just Gunther like just tap out. Like, I thought that was kind of weird. But all in all, like I was happy for Jay to actually finally win.
Yeah, I agree 100%. A little bit of a weird finish. I know I saw some people saying online that Gunther's like doesn't like submissions or something like that, or like his wrestling profile, like he like fears submissions or something like that. He's only been tapped twice. Obviously now with Jey Uso, and one with Ilya Dragunov, and he tapped out like rather quickly as well. So there's something.
Well, this one he did tap out pretty quick. Like he wasn't even in it for
pretty
long.
Quick. Yeah, and same thing with the Ilya Dragon. I'm not too sure what event it was from, but he like got him essentially in the same hold, and then he tapped out like rather quickly. So I think there's something like a deep lore that he does not like submissions or something like that. But yeah, it went the way that we thought we would. I think we both, we obviously all three of us predicted Jey Uso to be the World Heavyweight Champion. Me being the selfish bastard that I am, the greedy bastard that I am, I kind of was low-key kind of hoping maybe Gunther would have won, because I have like 5 base cards of Gunther, so that's like $100 in credit. So me being the greedy bastard that I am, I was like, man, I wouldn't be mad about a Gunther taking it, because I have more Gunther cards and more than Jey Uso cards. But I still had some. How many did you have again? You have 2, right? Or
I have 2 Jay base cards, and then everybody else I have 1 of each. So I walked away with some $60 of credit.
There you go. And if we're able to get some product to rip here, then maybe we'll get some more. Also on this card, we had the El Grande Americano versus Rey Fenix. Again, nothing too home to write home about. A little bit surprising about the Rey Fenix taking the loss there, but El Grande Americano had a little bit of a special entrance with the music and the what are those? I'm the mariachis. I was kind of losing my train of thought there. So a little bit surprising that he went over Rey Fenix. I did have him winning against Rey Mysterio, but that's Rey Mysterio, not your newly signed talent Rey Fenix. So not too sure if you had anything on there, but nothing too crazy for me on that match. I think it was only like 8-minute match too, something like that.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm surprised that they refinished like the pin. I'm also I guess they're gonna prolong this whole Grande Americano storyline longer. I thought in my head I was thinking like, man, why didn't they do like a mask versus mask match? Because everybody's like assuming like, oh, it's Chad Gable and all this other stuff. So I was like, well, that'd have been a perfect way to like have him lose and unmask him at WrestleMania. But I guess not. I guess they're going further longer with this. So it's gonna be interesting to see where it goes. So.
Yeah, same thing. I thought he for sure would have. The way the build I had was that El Grande still would have beat Rey Mysterio, and then at the end of the match, like Rey Mysterio still like comes out with a baby face on top where he does something, or maybe like all the other luchadors come out and team up on Chad Gable, who's not Chad Gable, and then like from there they take off the mask and it ends up being him. So that's the thing I had played out of my head, but obviously it did not go that route. We then had Jacob Fatu and LA Knight. Again, that match pretty predictable, like we saw with the the heavyweight championship with Jey Uso and Gunther, where I don't think there was a world where LA Knight was going to go over. Kind of feel bad for LA Knight. A short little reign. I think it was only like 46-ish days, 40-ish days. So a little bit of upsetting that had to come at the expense of LA Knight, but those two have some good chemistry. Still put on a pretty great match at Jacob Fatu. Again, putting up a good showing on his first singles match at WrestleMania, and then of course having his first major singles title run. Again, nothing really to take away home. It was a good match, nothing crazy, nothing like, oh my god, this is the best match ever. But still overall fine match. And I think it serves up well for Jacob Fatu, which I think now to the build up to the summer, I think we'll finally see that Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu at SummerSlam. But again, I'll throw it to you here. Anything there on that Jacob Fatu and LA Knight match there?
Nothing again, like nothing too crazy. It makes me wonder like why they even decided to have LA Knight drop the title in the first place, like to Shinsuke like a couple of months ago. Like, so it just, I don't know. I don't know what their thought process was on that. So
yeah, I think a way you could have done it was do like a multi-man match and like have Jacob Fatu either like pin somebody else or pin the champ, do something where you could have had something there, get some more talent involved. I know there's been some talent who've been talking about that recently, the lack of being on the card. So maybe you could have had some sort of multi-man match. And obviously there's a lot of people involved in that storyline too. Like Braun Strowman was involved, obviously Shinsuke. So that you could have like a fatal 4-way there, maybe even throw in Carmelo, do something there.
I would say, yeah, you can even like go a little further. You can throw in Andrade and stuff like that. So
yeah, you can throw it on. Yeah, so I mean, you could have had like a 6-man, 4-man. You could have done something there, but just had the straight up clean victory there, and there was no interference either, so it was a clean victory. So again, a little bit surprising there that not surprising, but a little surprising that he just had threw LA Knight to the fire and just took the loss there clean. But now let's talk about probably one of the more talked about matches because of one specific promo, but in my opinion was probably the most disappointing match out of all WrestleMania, and this both between night 1 and night 2, and that was the Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton. Right from the start, even with the build up to this match here, it just felt so off. It seemed like Charlotte Flair was like one-upping Tiffany. You can kind of see the experience when it comes to cutting promos. And I think Tiffany Stratton even talked about that a little bit, doing some other interviews there. But then I think it was 2 weeks ago, right at this point now, 3 weeks, where they had that promo on SmackDown, and things got a bit personal, where Tiffany calls out, she's 0-3, hinting at her 3 divorces. And then, of course, Charlotte Flair is saying, is that why Ludwig Kaiser is in her DMs? And I think it was like the most hilarious thing ever that she said that. And I think I saw it on post, or I think Jim Bro mentioned it, that they said that Ludwig Kaiser, that's like the most like unbelievable, or like, I forgot what he said, that's the one person that we believe that did not cheat or something like that.
It's like he's like the first person to get accused of cheating and we don't believe it or something like that.
There you go. Something along those lines. And then they had the brawl the next week after that, and then obviously now the lead up to this match. But yeah, again, I just said it from the start, it was probably the most disappointing match. I was hoping they would have put on some sort of top caliber match like we've seen Charlotte Flair do in the past with Rhea Ripley at 39. But yeah, this match just felt off. You can tell it was very stiff. I talked about that on my TikTok. Like, you could tell it was very, very stiff. And it showed Tiffany had like a chipped tooth. She had a big old bruise on her head. Charlotte Flair kind of just looked like going through with emotions. It just overall to me was not a good match, and I think it kind of goes against it. We've seen history and we've seen it with other superstars where if there's real life hatred, you can make a really good match. But this was a case of where there's some real life tension, potential real life hatred. I don't know about hatred, but tension for sure. But I think overall that tension did not pull off in this match.
Yeah, it looked, like you said, it looked real stiff. There was even moments where I think it's even like towards the end, when she's got her, when I think Tiffany's going for like where she puts on her shoulders and then rolls, like Charlotte looked like dead weight. Like she looked like she was just like there. And eventually that was the finish. So I don't know, maybe she probably did it. I don't want to say she did it on purpose. I'm not accusing her of doing it on purpose, but maybe she's like, all right, here comes the end. Like you do, like, you do all the work now. But yeah, I mean, like, obviously we've seen the whole rivalry between, like, well, obviously with Punk, when it comes with like Punk and Rollins and Punk and McIntyre. Like, if you like be professional about it, like, you can really have a really good match. And look at the series, the rivalry between Punk and McIntyre. Like, those were some like really good matches and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. I wonder what kind of backstage heat they have, if any. I know when all the reports were coming out saying that, I know Charlotte was catching some fire from some people and stuff like that she was trying to, like, basically, like, I guess it's a thing where, like, these, the veterans try to make it hard on the rookies, and so I don't know how that happened.
To me, it just looked like bullying. To me, like, it looked like
Yeah.
she tried to bully her, like she tried to like big sister her in a way, like a big bro. I thought a big sister, like, I've been doing this shit for like 15, 20 plus years, and you're just like a rookie essentially. And
Yeah.
I think that's probably what hurt the buildup. Essentially, is like they were just off. They weren't on the same page. It was that promo when they're doing the split screen that you can tell, like, kind of Charlotte. You could probably see where Charlotte kind of goes off script a little bit, and Tiffany, the rookie that she is, or like not that experienced, saying like, hey, like, I'm told I gotta say this, I gotta do this, I gotta hit this, and yet you're going off script, which I think then leads to what we saw the week after that, where then Tiffany goes on script and Charlotte's like, oh fuck, like, all right, well, now I gotta say this to counteract that. So I just think, it to me just. I don't
think Charlotte ever recovered from that off script from Tiffany. Like she lost that crowd. I think it was Chicago. I think
Chicago.
Like, you could tell, like, she just looked so lost, which is maybe that frustrated her even more because she knows she's a vet and she probably could have handled it better. And for some reason, she just couldn't get the crowd on her side. So I don't know, but we'll see where they go from here. So.
Yeah, and I'm surprised too. Like, you would think like Charlotte Flair is like used to these boos and like used to getting the hate and all that. So you would think by now, like, she would be so used to that, and that, like, just, you could tell, just got under her skin really bad and kind of affected this overall build up to this match. But in the end, was happy that Tiffany won. We did not want to see another Charlotte Flair victory. I myself was happy. I had 2 Tiffany Stratton base cards, so leading up to my total amount of $60 in store credit for the buyback. So I was happy about that. Did have a Charlotte Flair image variation, but I did sell that. That I picked up at a card show. But then, so I was happy overall in the end that Tiffany got the dub and we're able to get that store credit. But now let's talk about the match where we just talked about here. When you do have tension with each other, but you're professional and you respect each other, and the fact that, what you do, can lead up to a fantastic match and a fantastic program. We then had the main event of night 1. We had the triple threat between Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and CM Punk. Again, I talked about this on my TikTok there, which you're not following me on TikTok. Follow my TikTok at Moon3PO. Where I said that opening segment, or the opening promo between CM Punk, absolutely cinema. That was a 10 out of 10, and that was a fantastic entrance with Living Color. Obviously, going back to the 2006 days of CM Punk, this fire burns as well. Having, a collage of just all the moments, of key moments in wrestling, with WWE specifically. And then, coming out with Living Color, coming out with Paul Heyman, obviously before, the eventual Paul Heyman turn. But that entrance was absolutely cinema. Absolutely loved it. Don't know what you have anything on the entrance there before we obviously you guys know that we're the big CM Punk fans. That man does no wrong in our eyes. Ride or die for CM Punk. But before we dive into the match, what do you think about the entrance specifically? I know we talked about entrances feeling lackluster, but this one was the exact opposite of that.
Yeah, this one was good. I always like the live band performances at WrestleMania. But yeah, like you mentioned, the video package alone was like, all right, this fucking video package just saved night one. Like that's how good that video package was. And then even when they were showing, so that was the Punk video package, but then when they even got into like the whole rivalry video package, like even that one was fire. Like I had to Shazam the song, and I was like, man, this song goes fucking hard. Like I need to get it on my phone. Um, but yeah, I mean, even get into the match. Like I think I even tweeted it out. Like after the match finished, the triple threat. I was like, damn. I was like, if it had not been for that how good that match was, and with all the twists and the turns of it, that basically saved like night one for me, honestly.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. Yeah, night one was a little bit of a dudder. Again, you can say it was the build up, the predictability of it. But it was just like it was fine, but it wasn't WrestleMania caliber night one. Like again, not to hate comparing it to WrestleMania 40, but wasn't that WrestleMania 40 type match or type build up and type hype. But yeah, this had everything. Fantastic match between both three competitors, both Rollins, Reigns, and Punk. And obviously having the drama filled between Punk and the Paul Heyman situation. I know some people talked about it online about the whole Seth Rollins or Paul Heyman turning on both of them and then being a Seth Rollins guy. So it's going to be curious to see what happens moving forward. Again, recording this before Monday Night Raw, so I don't know exactly at this time what's going to happen. But what do we think about the swerve? It seemed like the CM Punk one was kind of predictable. Now I want to say predictable, but you can make the argument that was coming. Obviously, he's been so loyal to our tribal chief. One's up for the tribal chief. But it was then the Roman Reigns turn where we're like, oh, shit, like we did not see this. And then the classic shot of CM Punk, not CM Punk, I'm sorry, Seth Rollins pointing out his hand, and then he hands them the chair, and then Paul Heyman's just sitting in the corner, and then watching him, get Shield S turned and back, getting some chair shots right to the back. But what do we think about the whole swerve in general?
Yeah, I honestly didn't see it coming. I know there was like rumblings on the interweb about like that he's gonna align himself with Rollins, or Heyman's gonna align himself with Rollins. I personally didn't see it. I was like, that kind of doesn't make sense. So it's kind of curious to see where they're gonna go with this route. Like you brought up, like you can see like the turn on Punk, like to line himself back with Roman. But yeah, I definitely didn't see him turning on Roman to align with Seth. So it's gonna be pretty interesting to see where they're gonna go from here. I'm assuming that Roman's probably gonna go on another leave of absence. That's the only thing that kind of makes sense in that area. But I guess we're gonna see what happens on Raw tonight. Because Heyman, I don't know if you saw, Heyman was on like the McAfee show this morning, and he was like going off on some fucking people.
He was going off, right? I have clips of it, but like
I haven't seen the whole thing. And I saw little clips, but like he was getting into like some of the fans, and then he was getting into it with Michael Cole. I think Cole had asked him like, oh, like how much did Rollins pay you to, I guess, align with them? And Paul Heyman was like, well, I took $1 more than what Vince gave you to be JR's lackey. And like he was like throwing shots at him, and then he even mentioned like he told him something else, but he was basically said that like he's like he's just a fall in line kind of guy. Like he even's like, and so Paul Heyman was, I think he told him like, oh, so you're not going to Jacksonville anytime soon? Like I guess like yeah, they mentioned AEW stuff like that. He was going off on Pat McAfee, like I don't know, it was fucking crazy. I was like, dude, what the hell's going on with him? So
yeah, I saw some. I didn't see the whole clip. I just saw like the post and like the word, obviously the post referring to the video. But yeah, like he was like, he mentioned like some like sensitive stuff, and he was going off on Cole, like Pat McAfee. I was like, dude, what the hell is going on? Like the WWE's PR team just like dipped for the weekend, because you can make the case that this was a bad week for WWE PR. Obviously, we're not going to dive into it. You can do your own research, but you can make the argument that the PR for this stuff was just, I don't know. That PR team had to work this weekend.
That's like the motherfuckers took vacation on WrestleMania week. I was like, God damn, like, yeah, I have no idea what they're gonna do with the storyline. So I don't know if they're gonna continue again, maybe another Rollins Punk storyline, maybe get a little bit deeper into it, because they kind of like, there's a weird like they'll like interact with each other, have a match, and then they won't like see each other again for like a good while. Yeah. So I don't know, are we finally gonna get like a well like rounded like storyline feud going now maybe? So So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, because technically they're 1-1 essentially. So if you're into the traditional 3 matches and the feud like we saw with McIntyre and Punk, when I'm speaking in terms of, they're technically are 1-1. Obviously, Punk has the up on Raw, Rollins from the Netflix debut on for Raw, and then obviously we had the steel cage match, which has a little bit of an asterisk as far as a win because Roman does pull Reigns out. Reigns does pull Rollins outside the ring, which technically classified as a win. So you have that. So technically they are 1-1. So you could do another match here at Backlash in St. Louis if that's what you really want to do. Kind of build up that pay-per-view up a little bit because obviously Backlash sometimes to get a rep of like, oh, it's a post-WrestleMania pay-per-view, not the best pay-per-view. So potentially we get something there. But yeah, I myself did not have this swerve on my bingo card. Again, could have saw the Reigns one. That was a little bit more predictable. Not more predictable, but you can make the argument for that. But the then turn on Reigns did not absolutely see. So then I'd be curious to see where this goes moving forward. If it's a true alliance moving forward, if it's just like a one-off type thing. So yeah, going to be curious to see where that heads off into moving forward post WrestleMania. And that recaps here our night 1. Again, yeah, this night gave it like a C+, C-, wasn't really anything crazy. Minus from that swerve, but that wasn't enough to overturn the whole status of the card. But again, CM Punk fans, it was great to see CM Punk come out of there injury free. He got his WrestleMania moment. He got a WrestleMania main event. So overall, as a CM Punk fan, just love seeing him on that aspect there of the card. Don't know if there's anything here that I missed or if you have any final thoughts there for night 1 before we head into night 2.
Yeah, the only thing I think we missed from night 1 was the tag team between the War Raiders and the New Day.
That's how forgettable. That was.
Again, it could have probably been a match that could have been for like Raw, like tonight maybe, if you wanted to go with that. I mean, I was griping that the build that they had on the SmackDown tag team titles was a whole lot better than they did for the Raw titles. So I wish they would have swapped them. I don't want to say I have a hard time saying like the War Raiders and New Day or the Raw tag team titles in general like didn't deserve to be on WrestleMania because like they're the ones putting in the work and all that stuff. I'm just here, talking about it. So to say that it didn't deserve to be on WrestleMania is not kind of my place to be. But if you want to go based on like storylines and build and stuff like that, like the SmackDown were built up a little bit better, like what they had, with everything going on between DIY and the Street Profits, Pretty Deadly, Motor City Machine Guns. They got all the Fantasma. Who am I missing? Who are the other guys? Who am I? Did I miss anybody? Tag team?
I think you got all of them.
Is that all of them?
For the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like that could have been showcased on WrestleMania. But obviously we're gonna get that TLC match on this Friday, so that should be pretty interesting. But I think other than that, I think we had everything for night 1.
Yeah, that's how forgettable that night that match was. I totally forgot it on the card. And I think I even said that on my TikTok. I think I made like a real post when we came home from the Casa where I was like, yeah, I think that was a match that could have been saved off for like a post WrestleMania Raw episode where you could have had if you really wanted the title switch, you can do that then and there. But yeah, I didn't really have too much on that match in general. Not mad about the outcome. I think I did have the War Raiders winning, but can make the case here for the New Day. I feel like that heel turn, even after the Big E didn't really do much, didn't really go anywhere. They took a bunch of losses to the Luchadors, but it is what it is. But yeah, heading off into night 2. So this is where we start cooking and we start heating up a little bit. Night 2 starts off with a banger of a match. We had the women's triple threat match between Io Sky, Bianca Belair, and Rhea Ripley. Io eventually being the winner of this match. But yeah, overall, A+ match. I think the outcome was great, but still the crowd reaction. I know we kind of talked about it there a little bit too. That it still surprises me. It's still surprising me that Rhea is the one getting the cheers and Bianca is the one getting the boos. I know people were making the argument, oh, it's because the overseas crowd a little bit more rowdy. And then when she came over to the States, the same thing followed suit. Rhea was still getting the cheers. Bianca was still getting the boos. But in reality, when you go back and listen to all those promos and what she's saying, she wasn't wrong. Like, she won the Elimination Chamber. She saw her best friend get her neck snapped and the Elimination Chamber, still won the match, and then went on to go earn her rightful way to face Io. And then Rhea loses her match to Io. She loses her rematch. You can put an asterisk on that if you want. And then Rhea just comes out, slams them both on the table, takes a contract, signs it, walks off, and like, oh, I'm in a triple threat. Like, she wasn't wrong. So the fact that Rhea is still getting the pop and Bianca was getting the booze is still surprising to me. But even with all that going on, that was a fantastic match, and was, I think we said it when we were watching it together, like this was already going to be better than night one, right when that match ended and was going through.
Yeah, I honestly think like combining both nights, I think that it was probably my favorite out of all the matches. And second, obviously, would be the other triple threat from night one. But yeah, like all three of them just have like so much like good chemistry. Like they all flow well with each other. Like you can just tell. Like compare that to Charlotte and Tiffany, you could see the difference. It's crazy. But yeah, I was happy that Io walked away with the champion. I was like, man, I hope they don't put the belt on her and then just to put it back on Rhea and stuff like that. So I'm glad that Io keeps it. And hopefully she goes on a longer title run. But yeah, like I said, that was probably my favorite match of all of WrestleMania.
Yeah, no, it's definitely up there. Good spots, key moments. Yeah, we're a little bit worried that they were going to do Io dirty again. Obviously, last year she dropped Bailey, and obviously this year, had like a short little reign leading up to WrestleMania. But it seems like here that Triple H and the booking there nailed it. They're on the booking there, and it's going to have Io do a long, lengthy reign. Where it goes from here, I think Rhea will probably be out of the picture if Bianca has her own little, I don't know, because she's technically on the SmackDown brand. So I don't know if they goes over to Raw. I don't know if they do like a little post trade. Obviously, we got the draft coming up, so I don't know if they're going to do a little swap-a-roosie there. But time will tell on that. But yeah, overall, great match. Great way to start off night one. Was probably, it's like my top 3 match here out of all both nights. I would agree 100%. But that match overall gets an A+ there from me. Next match here on the card, we had the Sin City Street Fight. We had Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre. Now, in all honesty, we did go out for this match because we did have youngins at our house. So we did step out for this match just because it was Easter. So we did step out and had the little kids running out do their Easter egg stuff. But I did go back and rewatch it today, and that match was a good one too. Guys with instant chemistry again, had some big moments, had some key spots. But this one was a good little match here to kind of still live up to the hype and kind of get the crowd going for this one, because even the crowd too, you can make the argument that the crowd for night one was kind of dead a little bit. But this one here have some big spots. We had the Drew McIntyre when the last ride when he went to the 2 tables, the Claymore that ended the match here, and then obviously Drew McIntyre too, still being the epic troll that he is, taking a post selfie mid match there. Still bored at work, LOL. So overall in the end, still was an overall good match. I think those guys too. I think we kind of talked about it where we weren't too excited about that match, but I think it lived up to what they were given. I'm not too sure if you had the opportunity to see it, but still overall a fine match.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have not gone back to see it. I did see I caught the finish though, so I was able to see like where Damian Priest I think was kind of going for like the old school, and then McIntyre pushed him off to the tables and then hit the Claymore on the chair on the turnbuckle. So yeah, I'm glad Drew got the dub. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and watch it, because even when I was in the street fight, I was like, ooh, I bet this is gonna be a pretty good match. So I'm probably gonna have to add that to my to-do list tonight when I'm on baby duty overnight. So I'll watch it.
Yeah, I saw it this morning. Yeah, it was a pretty good match, their first street fight. And obviously the talent involved there were pretty good. And then obviously Drew McIntyre needed a dub at WrestleMania. Obviously got last year's WrestleMania dub, but obviously ended it pretty quickly after Damian Priest cashed in on him. So a little bit of a short stint there, but overall, well-needed victory for Drew McIntyre to see where he goes moving forward. We then here had the fatal 4-way match for the Intercontinental Championship between Penta, Finn Balor, Dirty Dom, and Braun Breaker. This one here, another great match, high spots, good overall talent involved as well. And Dirty Dom being the eventual victor of this match, which we all had here on the pod. But man, it's so good to see Dirty Dom get his flowers. Obviously, he gets the boos, but it's not like boos of like, we hate Dirty Dom. It's more of boos like, you're good at being a heel and you're still like a dickhead at being a heel.
It's not like Logan Paul boos.
Yeah, it's not Logan Paul boos. It's not Logan Paul boos. It's the boos of like, you're good at what you're doing, so we're gonna boo you. But in ring talent wise, like I think the dude had a crazy stat last year where he worked like the second most matches behind Cody Rhodes. He was CM Punk's first match back, so obviously the company trusted him to work with high tier talent. Obviously was involved with the triangle between Rhea and Liv. but it was so nice to see him get his flowers. The Vegas crowd was cheering for him, and I think you can kind of tell that he kind of felt the moment where he then ran back out to the ramp.
Back.
So you can tell too, like he was just like feeling the moment, which good for him. He definitely needed to do that, and I think there's a cool picture of Finn Balor. He's just like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Yeah, I like how he when he's running back, he just like runs past Finn. But yeah, I think when the match started, I think we even like me and you when I was talking to you, I was like, yeah, I think we called it. I was like, yeah, I think Dom's gonna win, and then somehow he's gonna end up like pinning like Finn. I thought maybe it was kind of gonna go like the like I don't know if you ever watched that NXT match when Ethan Page won the NXT title, how he got hit and then he just fell. I thought it was kind of go like somewhere that route. So to kind of see like Dom hit the frog flash on Finn and then pin him like that. It's gonna be interesting to see if that's gonna cause any rifts of within the Judgment Day.
Yeah, I think I had something on the pod where I had last pod. I think I predicted somewhere where like Braun Breaker was gonna spear Finn and then like just like throw Braun Breaker out and just pin him and then from there just run off with the belt. But yeah, overall great match. Great showing for Penta as well. His first WrestleMania, his WrestleMania debut. Dirty Dom eventually gets the victory, so he's now 1-3 at WrestleMania. I know they were hyping that up a little bit that he's 0-3 at WrestleMania, but eventually now being 1-3. But yeah, overall fine match. Was happy to see Dom get his flowers there once again with the Vegas crowd. Gonna be curious to see where it goes here moving forward. As obviously they do like a Finn Balor, Dirty Dom feud there for the IC title. Where Braun Breaker goes from here, it's going to be curious to watch that. But yeah, overall just exciting for them. And being curious to see where this goes here moving forward. Next match here, we had Randy Orton versus the surprise guest or surprise entrant here, which ended up being Joe Hendry from TNA. We did not have that. The rumor obviously was we were going to get some new signing. I think the biggest rumor was Rusev, I think was the bigger name being thrown around there as far as of the spot to take over for Kevin Owens. But we ended up getting Joe Hendry from TNA. What do we think about Joe Hendry? I know some people were kind of talking about it as well. Should have been somebody else. But I'm a big Joe Hendry guy. We believe in Joe Hendry. I absolutely love the spot. I think it could not have gone any better than that.
Yeah, I think it was like even like the time that they gave it. I know it didn't obviously go that long, but I think the way they did it was like just perfect. Even the way how they did the camera thing, and then Randy Orton just comes out of nowhere, and then as soon as he hit it, I think I even tweeted it out. I was like, dude, that's probably gonna go down as like one of the best like RKOs, like just because of the way they did it. I'm glad. I know there was rumors that I think they wanted to have like Joe Henry like somewhere else on the card, but they wanted him to go up against the Miz for some reason, and then like they wanted him to eat the pin on the Miz. So they obviously I don't know if that was supposed to be for WrestleMania or for like another PLE. But yeah, you can't go wrong with taking the pin to Randy. But I did like honestly I didn't even cross my mind that Joe Hendry would have been the surprise opponent, but I'm glad it is. Got that, like you said, the rumors were like Rusev, and then there was rumors of Aleister Black, but I think he's kind of confirmed for like the SmackDown debut, which might be this Friday. I like selfishly was kind of also like rooting for like a Wyatt Six, Uncle Howdy kind of thing with Alexa Bliss, kind of like that. Which I think they even tease. I'm obviously going on a different path here, but I think they want like a Slammy, and they tease like some kind of message, cryptic message. So same thing with Alexa. She was kind of like teasing kind of thing. So anyways, I don't know where they're gonna go with that, but that's probably a story for another pod. But other than that, yeah, I'm glad it was Joe Hendry. I did like the match. It was a fun little match, and obviously it's gonna put some eyeballs on TNA, and I think that's probably the goal of that is to get a little bit more eyes on their product. So, but I liked it. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I'm a big Joe Hendry guy. It seems like that guy's always somehow tying our way back to me. I know for the Royal Rumble we played a little Royal Rumble game where you had to get the number or where the number was. Yeah. That was my number. So it's like I'm always somehow tied to Joe Hendry in some weird way. But yeah, even from like a character standpoint, like that's his character. Like I know some people are talking about he lost quickly, but the dude's like it's a gimmick, like it's a like his little persona thing, like it's meant to be as like a funny type thing. He's a decent wrestler, but there's obviously the build up and the fan reaction and the joy that we get from him is obviously the soundtrack, the music, the waving back and forth, like that's what makes Joe Hendry. And it just from a personal standpoint, like the dude is just like all about like manifestation, speaking into an existence. And if you work your ass off, you can get to where you want to get to where you want to go. So that for me, from a personal level, I just like him a lot. Obviously, we'll talk about the WrestleMania patches in a little bit, but going to be curious to see where that plays with him, especially because since he is a TNA superstar. And there's, like you mentioned, you're not upset getting beat by Randy Orton at WrestleMania. On WrestleMania, I think that was Randy Orton's 20th WrestleMania. I think is what he said in the promo. Even kind of a little throwback to the trunks there with the name on the back and like the light blue color. So even that was cool. So yeah, there's no denying.
That's crazy to think that if Randy's been on 20, so he's been on half of the WrestleManias that exist since we just said 41. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think. That's kind of crazy to think
about, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, there was nothing wrong with that match whatsoever. Next match here, AJ Styles, Logan Paul. I think we both had AJ Styles winning that one here, but it did go to Logan Paul. Again, another fine match. Still did nothing too crazy. I think that I saw a lot of people saying this is kind of where the downfall potentially of this card then comes to. Okay, yeah, this one was okay. It wasn't nothing too crazy. I think the build to is kind of what hurts it a little bit. I didn't really buy into the build of this match. I don't know if you have anything here for this match, but this didn't really do anything for me.
Yeah, like I said, the build up just wasn't there. I think it was like a random episode of Raw. Like, AJ was like, I'm gonna call out Logan Paul. I was like, all right, what's that gonna do? I think the interesting part is when it's gonna come after. Like, I don't know if you've seen the Karrion Kross promo that he cut on that podcast with Sam Roberts. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Like, and I think it's I missed the majority of his NXT run, but I was like a fan of his. I just like his aesthetic. I like his look. Like, he just has like that grungy look, and I think people are starting to like catch on to him a little bit more, and he's getting a lot more attention. I think he's even noticing that. That's why I was so like upset that the whole thing didn't work out between the Final Testament and the Wyatt Six. Like, I think that had potential to do like crazy things, and it for some reason just didn't work out. I don't know if it had to do with like the injury bug, because that's the last time we saw the Wyatt Sixes when Uncle Howdy took the pin. But yeah, I saw that promo, so it was interesting to see him come out during the match, because he even in that promo that's it's on Twitter, and I think it's on a podcast, so you might be able to find it on YouTube. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but he like talks about that match, like he's calling like AJ by his real name. I think his real name is Alan, so he's calling him by his real name, and he's like, Karrion's like really good at blurring the lines between like if it's work or if it's storyline. So if you haven't seen the video, go check it out. It's pretty dope. So I think that's the part from the match that's kind of like the seed was planted, and so I don't know if we're going down a Karrion Kross AJ Styles feud, which looks like it is. That'd be pretty interesting. But that's really all I took from the match. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what the win does for Logan Paul too. Like, he took the win. All right, cool. Like, where do you go from here? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, all I know, before we hit live, I actually saw that video where I was waiting for you to come in. And yeah, it's like a 2-minute video. I think it's on the Sam Roberts. It's that podcast that they do that I think ran through WWE. Like they do like post Raw, post SmackDowns, and post like
that's
PLEs.
What it is.
I'm not sure what it's called, but yeah, it's with Sam Roberts, and then I don't know who.
I don't know the girl's name.
I don't know what the other girl's name is. But yeah, he cuts like a 2-minute 2-minute promo, cutting like to 3 minutes, and yeah, he calls AJ Styles by his real name. He's talking about how like Logan Paul is like taking shortcuts, and he just comes in and wanted AJ to protect the business of like what we've worked for. And then obviously AJ didn't take the brass knuckles that Logan Paul has used in the past to beat wrestlers. And so he talks about that. He talks about the crowd reaction, like you just talked about, him getting eliminated from the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, where he got eliminated and the crowd boos, so the crowd is starting to pick up on him. And he kind of talks about, they always talk about moments, and like you got to have a key moment, or be a company guy. He's like, well, that's gotten me nowhere. And he's like, when I was a company guy, like I got released. And then he goes off on like, it was an epic rant. And I forgot what he said.
Who do we blame? End. We blame Bill Goldberg.
Yeah, he talks about Bill Goldberg. And then he talks about in the end, he's like, I forgot what the exact quote is, but he says like, "Oh, does anybody complain about the guy who sits in his chair with the suit and fucking tie, something like that."
Yeah.
Basically calling out Triple H. So yeah, it's gonna be curious to see where that goes moving forward. And you can even tell too, like I think somebody left a comment. You can tell like Scarlett was like, "Oh shit!" Like he's like
Like
going
going
off.
off a
Like
little
he's
bit. Yeah, I
yeah,
think they said there's a point where the video where like Scarlett looks at it and she kind of like taps him like, and I think that's when he gets up. He's like, no, 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 like,
yeah. I think
and
she
I
puts
think
his hand
he's
on his shoulder.
yeah, and then
Yeah,
he starts talking about like his contract. He's all there. They're leaking my contract info, and I don't know who he's talking to about that. Um, but yeah, and then he basically goes on. He's like, I don't get no privacy, so I don't know. I think there's a little
yeah.
bit more to the story than maybe we know yet, but yeah, it's kind of going to be interesting to see where they go from here with that.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to watch that moving forward. Definitely we'll keep our eyes peeled on that as it moves on. Next match here, we got the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship with Liv Morgan and Raquel versus Lyra Valkyria and the returning Becky Lynch, who on night one on a backstage segment, Bayley was then taken out, so she could not compete, which led to some turning heads and I know some chatter online as well. Again, a fine match, a little bit short, if I'm being completely honest, but it was a fine match. Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch being the eventual winners of this match. So Lyra is now considered a 2-belt. Lyra Valkyria will now be the IC champion, now the women's champion, and obviously Becky now being, I don't know how many times she's been a tag team champion now.
That's your second, I think.
Second? Okay.
I think so. I think
So
she won it
second.
with Lita. I think was the first time.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it led to the Trish Stratus feud. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, good pop for Becky. Was nice to see her. But I know some people, again, I just talked about, some people on the channel were kind of talking about Bayley and how some people kind of felt bad for her. There was a report online, again, not sure if it's confirmed or not, or some talent backstage felt for Bayley because she's more of like the more respected women backstage. Some would have thought too that she would have had a match with Roxanne Perez on WrestleMania, but they didn't even have either talent involved.
Fumbled that
so bad.
Yeah.
Freaking Roxanne was on the kickoff show on NXT for Send and Deliver. So I mean, I think they fumbled Bayley so bad. You go from winning the belt from EO last year's WrestleMania, now you're not even on the card. So yeah, I think I overall was not happy about the way they treated Bayley. Happy to see Becky Lynch back. Love Becky Lynch. No disrespect to Becky Lynch. Love her. She's a great in-ring talent. Out of the 4 horsewomen, she was my favorite. It was nice to see her not pop and get her a win. I also don't like the fact that they treated his IC title as like nothing. Like they have not done absolutely nothing with that IC title, and that's why I hate about this women's division is that, like, I don't hate the women's division, but I hate there's no really established tag teams. If you really want to have Roxanne, come back, you could have had a tag team with her and Cora Jade, but they just broke up again on NXT.
That's what I thought they were good. I thought that was the point. So when they were doing that whole like NXT angle, I was like, all right, they're not gonna do Bayley and Roxanne on WrestleMania. All right, cool. But then when I saw that they were gonna form the tag team, I was like, all right, cool. I can see an angle where where Roxanne and Cora win, they get their tag team title shots. I thought they would be, or I thought Liv and Raquel were gonna retain, and then I was like, well, it makes sense for like Roxanne and Cora to take it off them, and that's how they get their call up to the main roster. But like, obviously, that's not gonna happen. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I thought the match was okay. Like I wasn't too crazy about it. I think it was a little too short. Like I feel like I feel like Liv and Raquel probably could have a longer run, especially since like the work that Bianca put in for those titles, like it made them a little bit more prestigious. And now that I feel like I don't want them to play hot potato again with those belts, and it seems that they do. But yeah, there's just no well established, like you said, there's just not well established tag teams, and I feel like you can have a more well known with Liv and Raquel since they're part of the Judgment Day than a forced tag team again now with Becky and Lyra. So, but yeah, I did feel I didn't even know about the Bayley beat up. I found out like literally like the day of WrestleMania part of night 2 when you told me about it. I was like, damn, what the hell? And apparently, from what I saw reports, apparently this like Bayley, or they had told Bayley this was going to be the plan all along. So I guess she was well aware of. I did see the press conference, the post WrestleMania when Triple H talked about the matches. He brought up Bayley, and he pretty much said like don't worry about Bayley, like Bayley's a pro and stuff like that. So he kind of acknowledged the internet crowd, which I think he's also like he's addressed other stuff when it comes to like the internet
Oh,
wrestling crowd.
that dude's in tune with the internet, man. That dude say he could say that he does not read the internet, man. That reads fucking everything.
Yeah, he knows. But yeah, he kind of said that like not to worry about Bailey and stuff like that. So I don't know. Let's see. Maybe they can rekindle the Roxanne feud. Maybe a SummerSlam match. I know it's kind of far out, but I don't know. We'll see where they go from here.
Yeah, because you would have thought about the whole build up that they had. Like you would have thought that this would have paid off at WrestleMania. And then have Lyra then go off and be actually defend her IC champion, and then have an established women's tag team kind of go off and fight for the belts, even if that's Chelsea Green or Piper Niven, or hell, even Piper Niven, Alba Fire. Could have done that. That's at least some sort of an established tag team. Not some throwing in tag team like Natty and Maxine Dupree or something like that. Like, you could have had something built up. So hopefully moving forward, we can get some sort of a establishment back to the women's division and to the women's tag team specifically. I think the women's division is fine, but specifically the women's tag team division, I would say. And then last but not least, we have the main event, John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. Now, obviously, if you guys are tuned into the wrestling podcast, Wrestling Cart podcast, you will know who's the eventual winner. So there's not much for me to say about how it went. So I'm just going to leave it open floor here, because there's been a lot of chatter online this morning and leading up to the afternoon about how this match went. So I'm just going to open the floor with an open-ended question. How did you feel about this match? Outcome-wise and like style of the match as well. And what we saw.
I'm honestly kind of shocked that Cena won. I had Cody winning. I think eventually, like I felt like John Cena probably was going to win the 17th reign. I just didn't see it happening at WrestleMania and the way it kind of went down. I think my biggest gripe with it was The Rock. Like, where the hell is he at? Like, he came out Chamber. We haven't seen him since. Like, we don't know like why Cena aligned himself with The Rock. Like, Cena, even when he's cutting his promos, like hasn't even said like why he decided to side with The Rock. Like, all we saw was The Rock did his little duck crow, and that was it. Like, we have like, I would rather have had The Rock just like not be a part of the storyline than to like to do what he did. Like, it just makes no sense. It's confusing. Like I don't know. And I know he's like off filming movies, so obviously he knew his schedule. Like, if he knew he couldn't be in Vegas for WrestleMania, like why even align yourself in this storyline? Like, you could have stayed away, and then when he has time, then they can kind of work something in. And the same thing, I guess with the Travis Scott stuff, that was kind of weird too. Like, he just came out and like, I know a lot of the big internet chatters like Cody didn't get like his receipt. Travis Scott didn't get his receipt. Like, I know he took the Crossroads, but that was basically it. But that just seemed random, and I don't know. I think the ending probably could have been a little bit better if they are going to take the belt off Cody. Like, I feel like it should have been more, I don't know, like a low blow and then a hit with the title and then hit him with a couple of FUs. Like, it kind of felt like a cheap finish in a sense like that. I don't know. That's kind of how I felt. Especially since you spent so long like building Cody up as this, big champion. He was the one who ended the long reign of Roman, and then for him just to lose on a low blow and a belt shot, like, I don't know, it kind of felt kind of cheap. But oddly enough, I was thinking about it. I was like, go figure that John Cena breaks Ric Flair's record while with the dirty move. And what do they call Ric Flair? He was the dirtiest player in the game. So I don't know. It's just, I don't know now too, like how, like, is Cena going to be full time? Like, are we going to have another part time WWE champion? So I don't know.
Yeah, to kind of echo like a lot of the things that you just said there. Yeah, for me, I enjoyed the match. I was the only one on the pod that had John Cena winning. A lot of things that I talked about on the last episode was where I think if you're going to validate this heel turn from John Cena, he needed to win the 17th and not like on the third, fourth, or fifth attempt, or whatever, how long they try to do it. I think you needed to do it and execute it on the first attempt to make it pay off. So that was my argument there as far as why I had Cena beating Cody at WrestleMania. Knew obviously it was going to be in some, heel move, if it was going to be a low blow or, some involvement from The Rock or Travis Scott. But yeah, that's been my biggest thing so far. And my biggest issue with this Cena turn is that there's been like no mention of The Rock. I think he was on Pat McAfee today, and they talked about it, and he's like, "I'm not going to answer that question," or so he said something like that, or like that's an internet type question. Or he said something like smart
that's
ass.
a clickbait question.
Clickbait question. That's what he said. He said something smart ass. But yeah, that's been my biggest issue with it, because in the promos, like it's all makes sense. Like what he's saying is not wrong. Like we booed him for so long, you cheered him, and then like even when he was gone, like you guys still booed me, and when I came back, like the promos have made sense. Like don't get me wrong, the promos have made sense from what he's saying, like breaking up with us, and like it's a toxic relationship. Like it's all made sense to me, but there still is the question of like why The Rock, or like why the involvement with The Rock. You could have done this heel turn, like you could have done it perfectly where Cody comes out, handshakes them, they hug, and it does a low blow and it beats the shit out of them. Like you could have done that without The Rock. Hell, you can make the argument you could have done that without Travis Scott. So you could have done all that without either parties involved. So the fact that they were involved, I feel like Travis Scott was honestly just probably thrown in there because like, hey, we don't have The Rock, so we got to sort of tune back to that a little bit. So here you come. And yeah, like you mentioned that, I don't think a crossroads is a true receipt. You can protect your talent like that. I think like a punch to the face where we saw like maybe the glasses would have fell off, maybe potentially would have been like a true receipt. But didn't really do that. So yeah, in the end, I think it was a good match, a good outcome. I think it needed to happen. I know some people now are talking about like, oh, he did this because he said in his promo that he's gonna ruin wrestling and things like that, which that could be the case too. Like maybe that's what it is. Like we're talking about it, and he just wants to ruin wrestling. I think he said in his Pat McAfee that his idea of ruin wrestling is him walking away with the belt, and that WWE has to completely start over with a new belt. Like that's his idea of ruining wrestling. So I don't know if he goes all the way to December with the belt and then maybe loses to Cody, or hell, maybe he does. But eventually leads up to matches with. I don't know where Cody goes from here too. Like, does he get his immediate rematch? Does he go away for a little bit? I know some people are talking about, he kind of deserves to go away for a little bit, but then who's going to be your true baby face? Is it Jey Uso? Like, is he going to be a true baby face to kind of carry on while Cody's gone? Obviously Backlash is in St. Louis. We would love to see a John Cena and Randy Orton feud. So that would be awesome to see. Obviously we kind of talked about it too, where we were talking about where to CM Punk go from here. Like, does that lead up to a Punk and Cena Summer 3 where we get those guys fighting for the belt again? So yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see. I know some people, again, were hating it online, which, I mean, it's wrestling. Everybody's going to have their own opinion. I know that David LaGreca guy was absolutely going off.
Dude, I was about to mention it. I was like, if you want to go hear a good rant, go listen to his rant on his most recent pod that they dropped today. Go fuck yourself.
Like, you guys were booing him for 20 fucking years. And this is the guy you want.
I was dying. I was driving in the car listening to it. Dude, I was fucking dying, dude.
Yeah, so
he went
you. I know, what's that guy's name? Errol Helwani was talking about it, kind of saying, like, kind of echoing the same thing. Like, he hasn't really bought into the Cena heel turn. Like, he was saying that people believe that Hulk Hogan was a dick. But he doesn't buy into John Cena being a dick. And I was like, I don't know about that. I was like, because again, kind of talking back to what we just talked about, or I just talked about, I was like, I believe everything that he said. Like, it's all been true. Like, he's not been wrong in his promos. He really hasn't. In my eyes, he has not been wrong. As far as like us booing, I think Friday's promo too kind of hinted it a little bit too, where like they booed Cody. They were booing the shit out of Cody for a little bit, and he even talked about it. He even hinted. He's like, see, like, this is what you want. Like, this is the people that you're fighting for, you're cheering for. Like, they're booing you. Fickle. I put out a tweet there. That crowd was absolutely fickle on Friday night. They booed him, and then Cena got a little bit personal talking about him, and then they cheered him on and started singing his name once again. But yeah, Monday Night Raw is going to be very interesting. Cena obviously is going to be there. He is advertised, so I'm pretty sure I would more than likely think he's going to open up the show. I would think so. Is going to be curious to see where this moves moving forward. But as we wrap up WrestleMania in a whole, is there anything that we missed? Any key thoughts on WrestleMania? I know we gave our grade in the beginning of the pod, but any final thoughts on the card itself?
No, I don't think so. I think we kind of hit again. There was times where it felt like WrestleMania, and then there was times where it didn't. But one thing we didn't talk about. What do you think of the stage? I know that's always a big deal.
I liked it. I thought it was cool. Or like some fans had they had seats up there like that.
Yeah,
that was probably an insane view for the people.
They had seats on the side, and then they had seats on the top. I thought it was cool too. I mean, I liked it better than last year's set.
Yeah.
The only thing I guess is maybe sometimes the ramp kind of felt a little underwhelming because I think we're kind of used to like the big ass ramps, especially if you're comparing to like 39, or the one in Orlando. I don't remember what WrestleMania that was, but
I
that
think
was
27.
that's one of like
27.
that ramp
Yeah.
was massive. But other than that, I thought it was a pretty cool set. But other than that, I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed
I
WrestleMania.
forgot. Speaking of ramps, did you see the video of Stone Cold Steve Austin missing the ramp leading to get on there to get onto the official ramp? Have you seen that?
Yeah,
That dude was plastered.
I think he had too many Steve Weisers in the back. And then he fucking hit that. Oh, he fucking ran into the damn barricade and broke the 4-wheeler. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens to that lady because even Nick Khan even went over there, dude.
Yeah, and then there's another one going out where I think Dominic Mysterio's on a golf cart. He wasn't the one driving it, but somebody else hit somebody. They were driving him somewhere, and they hit somebody. So WWE's got some lawsuits coming their way for sure.
Get the PR team.
That PR team that took the break this whole weekend. Got to get them back here. But yeah, I think it was an overall nice WrestleMania. Was it perfect? No. Was the build up there for a lot of these matches? No. But I think it definitely, hit as a little bit of a WrestleMania, not the best WrestleMania for sure, but definitely one that we'll be talking about for years to come because obviously there were still some big matches and some key moments now. All right, so that is it. BroPo had to jump off here. Obviously, he is on daddy duties, so he did have to jump off here for the pod. But obviously, where we're going to talk about moving forward with the pod is the WrestleMania patches. So if you guys were watching in, a fun thing that was fun for us while all watching was playing basically like a Where's Waldo with these debut patches. Now, not much to say on these patches. We talked about last pod, but if you guys are not aware, all superstars that were involved were wearing some sort of WrestleMania patch. Shout out to our good friend here who we had on the podcast before, Adam Gilman, who actually did us a service of where all these patches were located. I'll link down the Excel sheet down below in the description of the episode, both on YouTube and on Spotify or Apple. But basically has shows all the wrestlers that were involved and or even off talent. If you're not a wrestler, we're wearing some of the patches. But they of the location of this. For example, Jey Uso had the patch on the back of his pants, Gunther on the boot, Eric on the boot, Ivar on the boot, Kofi Kingston on the back of the pants, Xavier Woods on the knee pad. Naomi had no relic spotted according to this. Jade Cargill had it on her boot. Ray Phoenix had the front of the pants. Chad Gable had it on the boot. LA Knight boot. Fatu back of the shirt. Tiffany Stratton arm sleeve. Charlotte Flair had it on her entrance gear, so we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Seth Rollins had his on his flamethrower. We'll talk about that. CM Punk on his boot. Roman Reigns had no relic spotted, but I believe they said it might have been on the inside sole of his shoe. So that's for night one. Night two, Rhea Ripley had her boot. Io Sky had her on her lower leg boot. Bianca Belair boot. Drew McIntyre boot. Damian Priest had it center of the leg. Penta, I think it was one of the more unique ones, had it on the flap of his mask. Thought that was pretty cool. Finn Balor had it on his butt. Dominic Mysterio had it on his boot. Braun Breaker boot. Randy Orton boot. Joe Hendry had it on his boot. Liv Morgan had it on her arm sleeve. Raquel boot. Lyra Valkyria boot. Becky Lynch had it on her shoe. Logan Paul had no relic spotted. We're going to talk about that as well. AJ Styles on his boot. John Cena had it on the towel of his entrance. And Cody Rhodes had it on his boot. And now for the other non-involved talent in ring wise, Triple H, there was no relic spotted. Shawn Michaels had no relic spotted. Paul Heyman, no relic. Along with Wade Barrett, Michael Cole, Pat McAfee, they had no relic spotted. Along with Stephanie McMahon, Stone Cold had no relic. Travis Scott, now he interfered obviously in the main event. It was said here that he may have had the relic on his pants. So that's to be determined. Karrion Kross had it on his shirt, and Carlito had no relic spotted. Now, it was fun to see all these play out. Again, if you guys are not aware, these patches are going to be put onto one-of-one Tom's trading cards. These superstars are going to sign the trading cards, and they're going to be in a set that's yet to be announced. The more interesting one that's going to be for these patches is, like we just talked about, is going to be Joe Hendry and Logan Paul. Obviously, Joe Hendry is a TNA talent, so there might be some, licensing or some, term of talent agreement. I will say, though, because he is on the Tops Now card, they just released some Tops Now cards, so I think that is a good sign that he is on that card, because it shows like they can come to some sort of agreement. Logan Paul is still on a celebrity contract, even though he tried to talk about that he's an in-ring full-time talent. He's still on a celebrity contract, so I think that's why his contract worked a little bit different when it comes to autographs and merchandise. And there's no denying that if they were to get him to do something like this, it's going to be very, very pricey. And now with some of these superstars, like I just talked about, it's going to be interesting because what we talked about in the podcast last episode, and we talked about in the article, was that these were match used and match worn relic, but some of these are not. So like we just talked about, Charlotte Flair had it on her coat, so that's technically not match used. Seth Rollins had it on his flamethrower, so that's not match used. John Cena had it on the back of his towel, so that is not match used. So I'm going to be curious to see how that plays out moving forward. Obviously the card is going to have to say something along the lines of, match used, or, event worn or event used, something of those lines. Because the article again was talking about primarily how these were going to be match used, or and specifically, wrestling with these patches, but not all the wrestlers involved had the patches. So again, it's going to be curious to see where that goes moving forward. And so keep an eye out there, of course, on the podcast, on the social, because we're going to be covering more of these WrestleMania patches. I think they're obviously Tops and Fanatics are going to do some great promotional work, when they're taking off the patches off the superstars, putting them on the card, and them signing it right then and there, or, eventually down the line. So I think that's going to be curious to see as we move forward. But yeah, keep an eye on there on the pod, and keep an eye on the social, because we're obviously going to be covering all of that. Once those patches and the Raw and SmackDown debut patches as well, which we may see on tonight and this week as we move forward. But yeah, that is our WrestleMania episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. There was a lot of card chatter too. I kind of want to let the week die out a little bit as far when it comes to the wrestling card content, see where all these cards go from. Obviously we had the Topps Chrome Cactus Jack. Those have been some crazy sales. Kind of want to see what these sales look like as we head into the week as well. We'll probably drop another pod this week, so keep an eye out there for the social. Because if you guys are not yet, please feel free to make sure you are subscribed to the channel at Moon3PO. That's where we post all of the podcast episodes. And of course, follow me on all my other social medias, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. You can follow me at Moon3PO. You can follow BroPo at Dad Who Collects on all his socials. His socials will also be down in the description down below if you guys want to go check them out there. We're always talking wrestling. We're always talking cards. So if you guys want to carry the conversation on there, you guys can do that. I do thank you guys for tuning in and supporting all of our content. I really, really do appreciate it. You guys have, given me a platform where I could do this. And I love talking about this stuff. So I absolutely adore all of you who actually, tune into the content and actually watch all of our stuff. So thank you so much for supporting me. And hopefully we get some big things here moving forward. So make sure you do continue to support all of the content that we put out there. So I do thank you guys for listening and watching, and we will see y'all in the next one.